do you see the use of sanctions?
Well, look, I speak from the standpoint of my own experience. I was president of the United Nations Sanctions Committee on Libya some 20 years ago. We have to know those are not sanctions approved by the United Nations Security Council, which would have no doubt about their legitimacy and wisdom. I mean, these are very, I should say, experimental sanctions. They are dealing with uncharted terrain. I mean, they are very wide and could create a lot of problems for global economy beyond the reasons why they were imposed. I think that there was some elements of understanding of this both on the Chinese and on the European side. And I think that both sides are interested in avoiding a spillover of these sanctions into a global recession, into a global economic problem, which everybody will suffer from, and where it will be very difficult to get out of recession or any other type of global economic problems. Right now, the important thing is to stop military conflict, to stop the war, and then seek political solutions which will provide a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Ukrainian status within European Union, and at the same time, a long and sustainable system of European security and peace, where Russia has to be, of course, one of the major actors. It has been so for more than 200 years now. Well, look, there is a piece of wisdom again coming from China, which we all should hear, and that is that 3-foot deep ice does not happen in one day. And we have to understand that in order to stop the war and build durable peace, we have to find solutions for those accumulated problems. It's a pity that, let's say, back some 8 years ago, the idea of bringing Ukraine into the process of membership of European Union was not attempted seriously, and that throughout the whole period there was a linkage between NATO membership and EU membership. I think these two things have to be delinked now. They could have been delinked 8 years ago, and I'm sure that the war would be avoided if that happened 8 years ago. But we have no time machine. We cannot bring history back. What we can do now is really to delink these two things and find a formula which would put Ukraine on a credible path. I emphasize credible path towards European Union membership.
Mr. President, then the question about whether the European continent will be able, particularly the EU, be able to make its own independent decisions.
I really think that you hit the nail on its head. I mean, this is, of course, a critical question. And I think that all the observers of the last summit of EU and China have noticed the emphasis that President Xi made on the need for an independent policy making of European Union. We need a kind of a continuous dialogue, particularly between EU and China, continuous, not just summits once in 2 years, but something much more frequent and at all levels. We are in a very dangerous situation right now. Things can go out of hand. Things can spill over into a third world war. We are really in a very dangerous situation. But there are ways out, and those ways have to be found. And then, we should not forget the question of reconstruction of Ukraine. I mean, this is, of course, still too early to discuss, but one has to think about it. And I believe that, again, China will have something to offer in that context. China has done a lot on the Belt and Road Initiative before. Ukraine has already become a very important partner on the Belt and Road landscape and bilaterally. And I think that everybody in the world should be interested in having China involved in reconstruction. As I said, there is not much discussion about that as yet, but every war ends, and every war after ending requires reconstruction of the affected areas.